Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me. Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. Most people are aware that the Association for Democratic Reform and Common Cause have challenged the electoral bonds in the Supreme Court. But what most people don't realize is that there was a third petitioner as well, the Communist Party of India Marxist. And that raises two critical questions. What does the CPM make of the way the State Bank of India has behaved in the matter? And secondly, how does the CPM view the facts and details that have emerged into the public domain? Those are two critical aspects that I shall raise today in this exclusive interview with the General Secretary of the Communist Party Marxist, Sitaram Yechury. Mr. Yechury, as General Secretary of the CPM, a party which has petitioned the Supreme Court against electoral bonds, how do you view the State Bank of India's behavior in response to the Supreme Court's order that all details of electoral bonds must be made available to the Election Commission? How do you view the SBI's behavior?
Very unfortunately, the SBI has not been forthcoming. They are maybe working under pressure. That's a different point. But not complying with the court's orders for putting all information concerning the bonds and pass it on to the ECI to be put up on the website in the public domain. It was most unfortunate that they were trying to stall this process, obstruct it at every step. First, they asked for more time. Then when that was ruled out, they had all the data, but they did not put up the alphanumerical number. And once they were again had to be told by the Supreme Court, and we hope that now the entire data will come out. But the fact is the SBI has been playing a role of trying to obfuscate or obstruct the release of all information in public domain. That is most unfortunate. It's the most leading bank in the country.
Let's go into some of the specifics of what has emerged about the SBI's handling of this matter. To begin with, something that is deeply worrying if it's correct, but which is not widely known. The journalist Poonam Agarwal has revealed that she bought two bonds of 1,000 rupees each in April 2018. But details submitted by the SBI to the Election Commission claim the purchase happened 2.5 years later in October 2020. If Poonam Agarwal is correct, doesn't this raise worrying questions about the accuracy of the bond details the SBI has revealed? And secondly, if Poonam Agarwal is correct, are there not doubts about the SBI's own records and systems, which in turn raise questions about the SBI's credibility as a bank?
Absolutely. If Poonam Agarwal is right, then it raises all the questions that you have raised, and they are very pertinent. But the point is that that video of Poonam Agarwal has now been deleted from the Twitter handle, and I don't know what that means. So if that is the case, then we'll have to check and verify. But the fact remains that the SBI, whatever be the reason, was actually trying to delay the disclosure of this information till the elections are over. And that is something most unfortunate. And I'm glad that the Supreme Court has come down heavily, forcing it to now put all this information in public domain.
Let's come to this aspect that you raised. the attempt made by the SBI to delay making the information public until the elections are over, i.e., the fact that they wanted 3.5 months more till the 30th of June to match the purchaser with the recipient. And my question is a very simple one. Despite the SBI's claim that they can't do it for 3.5 months, is it really possible that a bank does not have readily available details both of what it sold as well as details of what it's in cash? Surely those are details that the bank requires every single day at close of business for their own settling and clearing purposes, without which a bank can't function.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think this was only an excuse. This information must be readily available with the bank. The fact that they do not want to release this, and that is what makes it very, very unfortunate that they are working under tremendous pressure, obviously, not to allow this information to be disclosed. But whatever has been disclosed so far, Karan, has very clearly shown all the concerns that I raised in Parliament when I was then a member, when we voted against this particular proposal in the Rajya Sabha. We amended the finance bill. It was never done earlier. We amended the finance bill, sent it back to the Lok Sabha. Because of their majority, they rejected that and then brought the scheme into operation. Every single concern we raised then is actually being resoundingly vindicated by even this disclosure. Even without the alphanumeric numbers, you can easily make out the pattern of what was happening through the electoral bonds.
Then let me ask you two blunt questions, Mr. Yechury. When the SBI claims that it cannot match purchaser with recipient unless it's given 3.5 more months to do so till the 30th of June, when we clearly know that every bank has to settle and clear its accounts at the close of business every single day.
Right.
Was the SBI simply misleading the Supreme Court, or was it lying to the Supreme Court? Which of the two?
Well, that is up to them. They should be hauled up for perjury. That is, the Honorable Court will have to decide. But they were not being honest very clearly. Whether they were doing it deliberately or whether they were doing it under pressure is a separate question. But they were not being completely honest.
In other words, they were lying.
That is what one should do. The proper conclusion one might draw.
Because you say they should be hauled up for perjury. Perjury means you're lying under oath.
Exactly. That is for the court to consider.
And you do believe that that action must be taken against the SBI?
Absolutely. I think the court must seriously consider why this tactics for delaying the putting this information in public domain was undertaken by the premier bank of the country.
In the second order that the court gave the SBI, when the SBI had failed to make available the details and was asking for extra time, the court warned that if the SBI didn't comply, contempt of court action would be taken. You're actually now saying contempt of court is mild, perjury is the charge they should face.
That's right. Contempt of court, I had moved. When they first asked for this time, one of the petitions seeking contempt of court initiation against the SBI was a petition that I had moved on behalf of the CPM. So we are saying that now that the Honorable Court has itself come to the conclusion that and warned the SBI that they cannot hide any information. That itself is an admission that they also suspect that some information is being hidden.
And hence the action against the SBI should be in terms of perjury.
That is what it appears to be now. It's for the court to consider, though.
Let me raise the second blunt question with you. Do you think this perjury, this attempt to mislead, this attempt to lie, whichever of the three you want to see it as, was done at the behest of the government?
I can't see any other reason why an institution like the SBI would be indulging in such tactics.
The government is, of course, the single biggest owner of the SBI. I believe
Right.
something close to 60% of the SBI shares are in government hands. Therefore, if the SBI is liable for perjury action, shouldn't some action be taken against the government as well? They are the owners of the bank.
This is what election bond scheme did, was to legalize political corruption. And if you want to, the declared aim is a crusade against corruption. If that is the case, those who brought this sort of a scheme, and if you look at what all has been happening by using these electoral bonds, it becomes all the more clear. There are at least four.
I'm interrupting. I'm not talking about potential action against the government for bringing a flawed, unconstitutional scheme. I'm talking about potential action against the government for the fact that the government owns the bank, and under the government's directions, the bank misled or lied to the Supreme Court. On that second issue, should action be taken against the government as well?
Definitely, they are responsible and they are liable. They are liable, and the Honorable Court must consider this aspect. SBI, and from the SBI, the owner of the bank, that is the government of India and the current government.
All right. Let's now come to the details and facts that have emerged in the public domain as a result of information being made available by the SBI in dribs and drabs, admittedly, to the Election Commission, and the Election Commission in turn putting it up on its website. Let's begin with your ally, the DMK. Details have revealed on Sunday that the Election Commission has shown that something like 509 crore was received by DMK from future gaming and hotel services since 2019-2020. That is 37% of future gaming's purchases and 77% of what DMK received. Given what we know about future gaming and the inquiries it faces either at the hands of the ED or the CBI or both, is there something fishy or suspicious about the money that future gaming has paid to DMK?
Well, it's not only DMK. First tell me, DMK has put out all the details. Why is the BJP not putting it out? Why are they refusing to say that who are these donors? Look at that big fish, 60% of the entire electoral bond scheme has gone to the BJP.
I'll come to the BJP later, because at the moment the BJP has not accepted or admitted, and we have no reason beyond suspicion for believing that they were major recipients of future gaming money. Those details will emerge presumably on Thursday when the alphanumeric numbers are revealed. But as of now, we know from the DMK's own admission that they received 509 crore from future gaming, which is 37% of future gaming's purchases and 77% of what DMK overall received through electoral bonds. And I'm asking you about DMK. Should this money that was given by future gaming to DMK be considered fishy or suspicious, given what we know about future gaming, given that it's in the lottery business, and given that it faces ED and CBI?
Every corporate house that has donated multiple times of its profits, shown in their balance sheets, are suspect, and they will have to be investigated. To anybody that is being given.
Including your ally.
Including
your ally.
No, including my opponent.
But we'll come to your opponent later. At the moment, I'm asking you about your ally.
Why later? Why are you allowing the big fish to go?
I'll come to it step by step.
Before all this, you'll have to listen. What are the four ways in which this money has been, this political corruption has been legalized? One is straightforward mafia-style extortion. The second is sweetheart, quid pro quo deals. The third is money laundering by firms who donate multiple times the profits that they make. And the fourth is protection from investigation, especially for drug companies, for producing and selling poor quality drugs. All these charges are dropped the moment they donate.
I'll come to that in a moment's time. Let's take it in a structured fashion so that audiences who are not necessarily familiar with your views, after all, this is the first time you're being spoken to about this critical subject, can understand you. But let me first complete the question about your ally. You say that all corporates who've donated way beyond their legally declared profits should be investigated. That applies, I presume, even in the case of money received by your ally DMK from future gaming. Just give me a yes or no.
No, why? The point is that we are a party that refused to accept electoral bonds. Anybody else who accepted is something we think is wrong. We think this electoral bond scheme itself is wrong. And therefore, anybody who's accepted them, according to us, from our principal position, is wrong.
All right. That covers your ally DMK as well. And therefore, if the accepting of electoral bonds was wrong, clearly electoral bonds accepted from future gaming need to be investigated.
But why are you
They
shielding
may not
BJP?
turn
I
up
don't
anything
understand.
that they should be embarrassed of, but it should be looked into.
No, but the point is, why are you shielding the BJP?
I'm not shielding the BJP. I'm going through them one by one. I said that earlier. I was reading
But
it.
you start
I
from
would
the big
rather,
fish.
I'm beginning on purpose with your ally. You have accepted that, like anyone else who received electoral bonds, what the DMK has received should be investigated and checked. And if it's fishy, that should
We
be
have told
removed.
our allies, our opponents, everybody. This is a scheme which we do not accept. We think this is the legalization of political corruption.
Okay.
And we think no political party should accept.
Let's then come to your opponent, the TMC. The opponent that really matters because they won Bengal at your cost and they've virtually kept Bengal at your cost for the last 15 years. Both TMC, your opponent, and JDU, your former ally, claimed that bonds were received anonymously. In some cases, it said that they were put in a Dropbox. In others, that they were sent through messengers without the recipient knowing who was sending the bonds. In TMC's case, the total amount allegedly, according to the Economic Times, comes to 75 crore. Now, is this a deliberate ploy to deny and hide the donor's identity? And secondly, as one of the original petitioners in the case, how do you respond to it?
The essence of the electoral bond scheme was to protect the identities. And that is being busted by the challenges we made in the Supreme Court and the Honorable Court's orders. So this effort from the State Bank of India to various political parties is actually to obfuscate the public disclosure of all details. And all of them are trying to do the same, including the State Bank of India.
What action should be taken against the TMC and the JDU when they claim that bonds were received in a Dropbox or bonds were sent anonymously through messengers?
Same action that you'll take against the BJP. Same action you'll take against the BJP, the main culprit of this entire scheme. And I don't know why you're shielding them.
I'm not shielding them. I'm going through them one by one. I'm not shielding anyone.
No. The extortion can't be done by anybody else but by the central agencies. And that is under the BJP.
All right.
Why you tell me? You asked me a question on the Santiago Martin. The ED raids him, the CPI raids him, and after these electoral bonds are purchased, why do these raids mysteriously stop?
Let's come to that.
And who's responsible for that?
Let's come to that issue because I think it is the key issue.
Yeah.
There are three main broad trends that have emerged fairly clearly from the public information that is now available as a result of the Election Commission putting details on its website. First, several companies bought bonds days or weeks after they were raided, either by the ED or the CBI or both. Secondly, several companies bought bonds days or weeks either before or after they were awarded sizable contracts for government projects. Third, several companies which were incorporated just weeks earlier, or at most a year earlier, with paid-up capital of probably no more than a few lakhs, bought bonds worth crores. What do you make of these three broad results that have clearly emerged? How do you respond to them?
I added one more. I already added before you that there is one more area, that firms that are facing investigation by central agencies for spurious drug companies particularly, and remdesivir, which was used widely during the pandemic. And if that was a faulty, adulterated one, they gave 100 crores. These drug companies put together for protection, and no action is taken. You add another 4. That is the fourth one. All this points to the fact, what I said, it's straightforward political extortion. The central agencies work under the direction of the central government, and that is the BJP government. Number 2, the deals are given by the BJP central government, and that is the quid pro quo that the Supreme Court has suspected. The third one is what I had warned in the parliament during all these things I had warned. And the third is the shell companies. And routing through shell companies, they amended the corporate law to say, which earlier was what? Only a company that made profits for 3 years continuously can donate not more than 7.5% of its profits. You remove that restriction. You allowed shell companies to come, and that is the third point you made.
So
and the fourth point I've added, of protection, which the drug companies have done.
Are you therefore today categorically accusing the BJP, and I presume the Modi government specifically, of extortion?
That's what the facts are showing you that. There's no need to accuse. The facts are showing you that you have a raid, and after that you buy electoral bonds. What does that mean?
It's clearly suggesting extortion when bonds are bought and then given to the BJP, either just before or just after you've been raided. That clearly suggests extortion. But when people are buying bonds and giving them presumably to the BJP, either days before or days after they've received government contracts for government projects, that presumably is not extortion, that must be nepotism.
That is the quid pro quo.
Nepotism.
Yeah, that nepotism in one sense, but that is, you're actually been doing a commercial deal.
So you are accusing the BJP both of political extortion and of quid pro quo designed to enrich the BJP's own coffers.
I'm saying the facts that have emerged so far suggest this. The facts that have emerged so far suggest this unambiguously.
What sort of inquiry do you want done? Because we are now at the threshold of the election. The elections have been announced. Presumably, the government itself cannot inquire into charges that you're raising against the government or the ruling party. So what sort of inquiry should be conducted?
Well, that's up to the court also to suggest. Election process is on. Deliberately, the timing is such that now they say electoral process is on, nothing can be done. But in that case, what needs to be done? The Honorable Supreme Court will have to also suggest. They should also contribute.
Will you raise this matter with the court? Because at the moment, the court is not about to suggest the nature of the inquiry that should be conducted. They've simply made the information available and insisted that it is made available. Will you go that one step further and say to the court, you must recommend the nature of inquiry needed?
And no, the point is, once this entire information is made available publicly, along with the alphanumeric numbers, and that matching is done, then the case emerges to go before the court again to say this has to be, action has to be taken.
And will you take it to the court again?
No, we'll first study the material and then do it. But I'm inclined that it has to be done, but the material has to be properly studied.
Let's talk about the material that is now very eagerly and anxiously awaited. The Supreme Court has ordered that the alphanumeric numbers, the hidden numbers on each bond, must be made public by 5 p.m. on Thursday, the 21st. That is literally roughly in 48 hours' time. What do you believe is likely to emerge when the SBI reveals the hidden numbers both on each bond purchased as well as on each bond redeemed? What do you expect will emerge?
Right now that we are discussing are the indications of political extortion, of sweetheart deals and quid pro quo and shell companies. These are indications of the available men. All that will be confirmed. And once that is confirmed, you'll know exactly the details. For what quid pro quo was so-and-so bond given to whom, and in order to protection against extortion or under investigation, you will know the exact details. On that basis, we'll have to proceed further for taking action.
So the alphanumeric numbers will be clinching proof of quid pro quo of extortion.
Yes, they will.
One other question, because clearly the analysis needs to go wide and deep, and it's only just beginning. Do we also need to ask if these companies were donating to political parties in the years before bonds were introduced, or whether their ideological commitment only started with the bonds? won't that, in a sense, clarify their intention in using the bonds? If their commitment to a political party only began with the bonds, that suggests something very different to a situation where the same people were finding other ways of presumably legally contributing before bonds took their root.
Yes, of course. I mean, electoral bonds has opened up avenues for people to use these electoral bonds, either as protection, either for your quid pro quo deals, or to money launder. Open shell companies, convert your black money into white, and then go through this route. So these are all illegal, according to me.
So what
And
we're
that is why I said this is legalization of political corruption.
So what we're saying, Mr. Yechury, is that if a company, particularly if it is a company facing charges from the ED and CBI, or particularly if it's a company that is newly started with a very small paid up capital, if a company first began donating to a political party after bonds were introduced and never found reason to donate in the years preceding bonds, then that is grounds for suspicion.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And let me tell you one more thing. I'm deeply disappointed by the Election Commission statement saying that the donor's identity should also be protected. Remember, all through these years in India, corporates could donate, and they have donated to political parties upfront through their accounts and publicly declared. The name of every corporate was publicly known, who donated to whom. So what is there about protection of identity? It never occurred that that was necessary earlier.
In
Why
other
is it
words,
suddenly important now?
you're saying this claim that you need to protect the identity in case someone takes vengeful action against the donor is a cooked up excuse.
Absolutely. I mean, the donors' names were public knowledge earlier, and nobody really ever made any issue about it.
Before we end, let me ask you a wider question. In a recent interview that he gave Times Now, it's not more than 5 or 8 minutes long, and it's gone viral. The Information Technology Minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. Thiagarajan, has said that electoral bonds don't just raise issues of quid pro quo and extortion or nepotism, all of which we've discussed.
Yeah.
He says the issues raised by electoral bonds go far deeper. He said they affect the very notion of democracy because they enable economic winners to take control of the government. And what he was suggesting, but this is my language, not his, is that they convert a democracy into a plutocracy. To what extent do you agree with him?
Absolutely. I mean, we have, and it's in public knowledge. I've said it in Parliament. Electoral bond scheme destroys the level playing field in a democracy. It destroyed the level playing field, giving advantage to the ruling party. And by this destruction, you have actually undermined democracy as a whole. And it is not only plutocracy. Eventually, you're moving towards a one-party dictatorship. And that is it, the control over democracy and electoral process through your money power is what is going to determine the character of your democracy. And I entirely agree with PTR. This is much, much deeper exercise to destroy the foundations of parliamentary democracy in India.
We're right at the end of this interview. I'm going to end by reminding the audience of what I personally believe is the most important, significant thing you've said. And I'll ask you to concur whether I've got it right or wrong. You are going to approach, when everything is out in the public domain, the Supreme Court to consider taking action against the SBI on grounds of perjury. You believe that the SBI not only misled but deliberately lied to the Supreme Court. Therefore, action is essential. And secondly, you would also ask the Supreme Court to consider what sort of action should be taken against the government on the grounds that the government is the majority owner of the bank that lied to the Supreme Court, and presumably that bank did so at the behest of the government. Both of those are steps that you will ask the Supreme Court to consider taking.
We will consider these options definitely once the material is all there before us. And these are options I won't rule out. I'll definitely consider moving on the basis of this.
Mr. Yechury, thank you very much for the time you made available to me. Take care. Stay safe.
Thanks, Karan.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch The Interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.